Hey, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hi, Monica. Lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you too. Well, hello, everybody, and good night from the US, and good morning from Australia, where Heather Price is right now. And I'm so happy to have you here again. I think last time, well, in the first year of Grandma's March, 4 years ago, Heather was one of the first speakers and guests, and she shared all her amazing story as a grandmother and all her healing journey and shamanic wisdom path that she has. And now she's back again with new wonderful stories and journeys that she wants to share, more wisdom, more experiences, and amazing things that she has been doing since that. I guess together now with her partner and in Australia, working with healing energy and crystals. So I'm excited because this is all connected again to ancestral feminine wisdom. And so, welcome, Heather. Before you start, I want to do a brief introduction so everybody knows who is Heather. I'm not going to talk a lot, so we can give her the space and she can tell us a little bit more of all the magic that she does. It's such a pleasure to have you here back again. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And so Heather Price, she is a practitioner, a presenter, a training in shamanic wisdom and well-being, and global online, also for individual and small businesses and corporate. She is an inspirational speaker and writer. She holds ceremony. She's a holder of ceremony. She's a P 2.0 global presence ambassador, and she's also a visionary and co-founder of the VisionKeepers in Sydney and Brisbane. She's also the founder of Shamanic Wisdom Path and Practice, right? And that's the work I know about you. And as I say, today you're here to tell us a little bit about um, energy, healing, crystals, and the mission that you have been working recently. And I want you to tell us a little bit about that. So, sharing all these ancestral practices, all the wisdom that you have with all of that. So, welcome. Thank you for being here and joining us tonight. And today, very early from Australia. Yes.
Thank you, Monica. It's lovely to be here again. And I love the idea of you having, uh, a talk about how grandmothers can influence the world each March. Uh,
Yes.
it's something to look forward to. And I'm born in the month of March, so it kind of fits quite well.
Oh, it is. When is your birthday? Oh, wow.
Last Thursday, yeah.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday. So that's perfect. I love it. Well, good
Thank you.
way to celebrate.
It's interesting because you've chosen March, which is Pisces, and Pisces is about that deeper wisdom,
Yeah.
deep feminine wisdom, I believe, when we go deep into those places that we may not show the outside world, and all of us have that, men and women and children. We have a deep wisdom inside of us, an ancient wisdom that we can tap into because we're all connected, of course.
It's
And
true.
I think what people don't realize is where we're most connected is together, is in nature. Like we're not only connected to humans, we're connected to the
Mhm.
environment that we live in and around us, and connected to the trees and the stones and the crystals and all the creatures, the minerals, and we're also connected to the world above. We forget that we're connected to the planets and the stars.
It's true.
Yeah, so we have the world below and the world above and the world around us and the world within, where a lot of magic happens as well, because that's where our imagination is and our deep intuition.
Mm.
And it's that place within that leads us to the other worlds of wisdom.
Yeah. So,
So
and I wanted to bring into the space before you continue also that the theme of this year, and it's very connected to what you just said, it is time to revive our roots. And when I mean roots, it's an ancestors, but also roots from the connection that we have to, the trees and Mother Nature, everything that it represents. And also it's time to ask ourselves, what did we do once we knew? So once we knew what is happening to the planet, to the world today, what are we doing about it? And that lack of connection that we actually are having through to all that, to the roots, to nature, to community, to what is above, below, to
Mm.
everything that you're bringing. So I love that you're bringing all that into the space because it's really very connected. So thank
That's very true. I remember you posted, "What did we do once we knew?" And I thought, wow, that's really powerful.
you.
And I sat with that for a while and I thought, yeah, I did act. It sort of took me a while to realize that what I had been, I'm a visionary, so I've been given visions over the years of this time, that it would come, and I've been sort of steered in the direction where I can build community in the right places that can support people going through this difficult time. So I acted a long time ago, but I didn't know the details. I just had this really strong download that comes to me from time to time from a deep space, and that I needed to gather the leaders together, which I have done. And I notice in my signature it says Brisbane and Sydney, and we now have leaders like across the world. We have more leaders gathering into this Vision Keeper group. So once I knew that I had to gather leaders together, and that was about 2012. I actually avoided it. I actually have to say, once I knew what I had to do, I got a fright.
I
because,
imagine.
because I went to Sydney and didn't know very many people there at all, especially in this industry, in this kind of like community.
Yeah.
I stepped up and stepped out eventually, and in 2016 began to form leaders. And some of these are leaders of the leaders, like, the people that really know how to gather people together. And we brought the wise women and men together. We still have that beautiful community. And I was given a really clear kind of steps to take. And I was told that once it reaches 40, then we needed to expand more globally, which we started to at the beginning of last year. But up to that point, we had to build friendships with us. So it wasn't to be like hundreds and thousands of people. It was to be a small group.
Yeah.
So that we can nurture each other, because we're carrying as leaders so much, to hold communities across the world and across the planet. We can't just do it on our own as leaders anymore. We have to reach out and have like a backup and have support, because what happened last year after we presented our global workshop online in March, I think it was last year, great month, we all collapsed pretty well, because there was so much that happened to the leaders. Like, there was this mass loss of family and friends that happened. I lost over more than 10 people close to me.
After the pandemic, you mean?
Oh, no, not to do with that, really. It was the end of 22 and then 20.
Wow. Okay.
My mother died, and then
yes, I remember
lost a lot of uncles and friends, and 4 uncles and several friends. And that kind of wakes you right up. But I wasn't alone in that. The leadership group, between us, we lost so many people. And when I say lost, we didn't lose them. They passed on. They transitioned.
Yeah.
But it is a loss, for you personally. Anyway, well, we just went to ground, and we've restored ourselves again, at least I have, and looked for other missions and new things to do. So it's been an exciting year this year so far, and the end of last year was really exciting for me as well, because when you go through that kind of darkness, you can be sure to go through the light, and that's happening now for me. So
I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah. That's why I really wanted, like, okay, Heather, you've been sharing some pictures here and there, and I try to understand, okay, Heather is into something new. She needs to share it. So I love it. Yeah.
Once I knew, then was like, once I knew that I could do more,
yeah,
I formed the leadership group, and then I thought, well, what else can I do? And then it was more really connecting with the crystal kingdom, and also the elementals being the little creatures in the earth that keep the earth, the spirit creatures that keep the earth's heart strong and activated. So the ancient wisdom, the ancient grandmothers knew about the fairy folk and the creatures that we can't see with our human eye that live in crystals. There are some scientists who've discovered this little beautiful beings in crystals. There's a fellow called Harry Oldfield, a scientist who was exploring with his beautiful camera that can see auras and things, and he was looking at a crystal and he saw little beings in there moving in and out. And I've captured some as well, like when I've been filming and I zoom in. So it's sort of, and I have colleagues who've done that. So there are unseen beings we can't see with our human eye. And I think elementals, they're out there in nature, and the traditional peoples of the still have that capacity, really, the ones, the keepers of the land, the shamans, and traditional shamans and keepers of the land who look after the country and sing the songs to country, to keep all this kind of energy alive that once we could see easily thousands of years ago, we don't anymore. So it's like time to wake that up again, because the earth needs, I can't really say the earth needs anything. Like the earth's very capable, but we have to live here on the planet. And my contribution is, my drive is my grandchildren. My drive. It's okay to live this life and have a great time and have lots of fun, but what about my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and the great-great-great-grandchildren?
What are you leaving for them? Right.
And so we're all conscious of that. I think everybody, who is a conscious being, we understand that. So I guess what I've been doing is getting to know the crystals even better. I've been working with crystals for 30 years. I have to say I know them better now than I've ever known them. Like, I know their capabilities and I know how to relate to them. I used to think of them as, always thought of them as living beings. That I knew that straight away the minute I picked them up, that they were alive, and they respond to care. However, it's so much more than that now, how to enliven them, how to activate them, and also how to have a deeper connection to the elementals, what to do. Like, I've learnt what to do, and you're starting to share that in workshops and starting to teach people how to have that deeper connection with nature and deeper connection with beautiful crystals, and
there you go.
Treat them as they need to be.
Some with me as well. Yeah, I always like, okay, they need to
come
in here. Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of where I've been heading. I try to give you a bit of a backstory, as in that awareness that the earth was changing, that humanity's position on earth is changing. We're in the middle of that transition, as you know, and you've continued, you've been working for 4 years bringing an awareness to people that there are ancient practices that we can tap into to support this transition. And I'm sure your other speakers have spoken about that. I'm looking forward to watching all that.
Yes. Actually, I was just in a call, but it was recorded, so we are gonna put it in our channel soon. But is a woman from Colombia that she has this amazing project together with women, and she is bringing ancestral practices. And she was talking about crystals, and she said, well, recently I read an article or book, very ancient, and I don't remember exactly the name, but it's a very well-known healer from Germany back in the probably early centuries. I didn't get the name, but I have Ildegrada, something like that. I have read about her, but she was reading about how she said that we have to pay attention to crystals, because crystals, they can grow, they have different shape, like they are beings that are alive and we see them grow. So she was telling about crystals just like before, right, connected to you. So I love it. So it's all connected, and I love that women are founding and exploring, and they are the ones that are like bringing that back to us, because that's the wisdom that we need to remember and reconnect again.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful that others are talking about it on your show. But I think the ancient wisdom always included nature, the trees and everything that came out of the earth. What's turned everything around for me with crystals, I used to feel very guilty about having them. I used to feel I go into the warehouse and I come out crying because I felt that there were so many of them there, and I didn't know how they'd been mined. I didn't know where they came from half the time. And I used to never kind of feel very comfortable about taking them home. And so I built this huge kind of respect for them and started to think, well, they have to be comfortable in my home. I can't just pop them in a drawer or put them away, just treat them more like I treat a good friend. And I tuned into them, and they reassured me, that they're here for a reason, that they are on a mission.
Wow.
But a lot of them have been harvested in such poor ways. However, that consciousness is changing. So I've found a really fantastic wholesaler who goes over and she selects them, and she knows the people who actually take them out of the earth, and she knows where they're from. And so it's taken me a while to find her, and she's so beautiful. And recently I went on a big mission. I had to purchase almost 100 crystals. And so they helped me select them. They kept special ones for me. We stayed in touch, and so an Earth Star mission, was called the 7-pointed Earth Star, but it's turned out to be 10-pointed Earth Star.
Well, tell me more about that one, because it's like how that was born and how this came to you. Was a call? How did?
Okay, so last year I was reading this. I met this speaker at a presentation in August called Dr. Cornelius Van Dorp, and he was talking about his crystal missions when he used to work for Greenpeace as a ship's doctor. So he's a medical doctor, and he worked as an emergency doctor in rural health in New Zealand for a long time. Anyway, he was presenting on crystals and his mission, and of course I had to go. And when I arrived there, I recognized him. I'd seen him in my dreaming, in my visioning for the future, and not my past. Often that can happen, but it was my future. And so it was like a bit of a shock, really. I've not quite had that exact picture of somebody who I'd seen in my visions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and by the time he'd finished his talk, which I kind of only took half of it in because I was in awe of him, I saw him afterwards, after the presentation, and we exchanged contact. And then I started to read his books. He's written 14 books about his crystal missions.
Wow.
And he lives close to me now, like in Brisbane. So anyway, I read 3 of his books, the Crystal Mission Trilogy, and I could not believe what I read, like so much that I knew and understood that I hadn't read anywhere else. It was not only the crystal mission, it was a shamanic path that I felt. He didn't call it that, but yeah, it was that the path of the traveler and the adventurer and the seeker, the one that's been called. So he visited the Hopi peoples many times. He's been all around the world working for Greenpeace, and he would stop off and go and visit people all around the world and visit and walk with shamans and sort of, very interesting books. So we became friends through that dialogue around his books. And I had, my heart was beating away, but I had to put that to one side because I had an attraction to him, but it was like, what else is going on? So I did a meditation and said, you have to show me the way, because this is going to drive me crazy.
I love it.
He was in the middle of this huge project. And he obviously wasn't on the same page as me.
Okay.
He couldn't see what I could see. Anyway, so I put it aside, and I got this channel just the same way I have in the past, where I was told we were to go on a crystal mission together, and it was an important one. And so I said, well, you need to give me a sign so I know what the mission's about. And then that same day, Cornelius wrote to me and told me how unwell his patients were that were coming into the clinic, and how he was so concerned about them and the energy levels, because he reads people like that, and he just so many people unwell, around the city, and the energy of the city is so low, and the energy of the clinic was very dense, and they have crystals there. But anyway, he was concerned about that, and that immediately sent an alarm bell. Well, I can do something, I think, about that. Like I've put beautiful crystal grids in across the land before, and I'm sure they have made a difference to some degree. They certainly you feel better when you do something. And I thought he'd feel better if he went on this mission with me. So then I tuned in a bit more to that. And I was given a vision of Brisbane as a 7-pointed star, like over top of that. You might have a picture of that. So
yes, we can see the picture in a while. Yeah.
So there was a map of Brisbane, and
there it is.
Yeah, and so I had the number 7 come to mind because I was born on the 7th, but it's a spiritual number that we all are aware of, 7 days of the week. And lots of other reasons why you would pick 7. There is a 7-pointed star that's been very much used over time in ancient wisdom as well. There's a woman called Alison Davidson who looked into that, and she associated it to the 7 planets. There used to only be 7 planets, and then the 7 metals that go with those planets. And that I didn't really know about that Cornelius found all that out. But anyway, we have these this amazing sort of map here over top. The thing that was amazing about it was I just drew a star. First it was too big and I brought it down, and when I mapped it across to the actual map that I put up on the screen, it pointed to places that I was really familiar with, most of those places, or half those places. But the first one that I noticed was in the northeast, which is Shorncliffe. And that is where Cornelius lives, where I lived for quite a long time, number of years, and where I had a lot of initiation there, doing the work I'm doing. And it's just the fact that he lived there and around all my beautiful ceremonial places. So I thought that's a good start, And then Clear Mountain I was familiar with. Didn't know about Lake Manchester, Ipswich. I hadn't done much. I had done some work there, but not a lot. Greenbank, never heard of. Daisy Hill down the bottom, wasn't familiar with. Wellington Point, I'd done ceremony there with a really close Indigenous friend of mine. So they were good places for me to go to, and I had a centre point, Mount Coosa, which you can see there, which is not right in the centre, but it was centre enough. And I have done lots of ceremony there. That's a really central place for me to work in Brisbane. Wow. So the 7 points on the outside, and then the mother point in the middle, that was like she would branch out to all those other points.
So that one is the Mount Coot. Oh, yeah.
Coosa. Yeah,
okay. Coosa. Okay.
Yeah, so it became a really important part of the journey. We had a community activation there at the end, and then later on we had to add other points. So that made an 8th point in the middle, and then we had a mountain that's been guiding me for 30 years or more, and taught me a lot of this wisdom. So I sort of hear the mountain speak to me, telepathically, of course. The mountain was really important. So we're doing a workshop. We have a workshop happening next month to help bring the community in to activate and bury the crystals there. And then we have one up here where I live, up at Mullaney, like north of that whole map. So we ended up with 10 points for planting generators, crystal generators.
Uh-huh.
The mission's finished stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 3. We still have another stage to go.
When you say stage, is going to different points, or what's the...
First stage was going to the 7 points in a feminine direction, which is down here. It's the anti-clockwise way of the sun is the way of the feminine. So we put 3 crystals in to start, and then we went back the other way, the way of the masculine, clockwise.
Uh-huh.
Later on, that was second stage.
I like that the feminine way is the anti-clock. I didn't know that. Okay, yeah.
So I was taught that by an Indigenous woman who knew her stuff, and she said that was the way the feminine energy moved, and the energy moves down here with the sun that way as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, stage 2, we went the other direction and added 4 more crystals
in each of the points.
Yeah, and then stage 3 was the central activation, where we had a lot of my students come, and there was about 22, I think, came, and two of them were online. One was in Sedona, and the other one in Melbourne, and they helped us activate the generators so that the third stage, we put in a very big generator with amethyst pointing out to all the points, and plus all the crystals. So I've got all the crystals in this little basket here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We kept like big, we kept a version of them as well. So Cornelius had a version of them. I had I've got them all here in my basket. He's got his basket of goodies. And so we keep these ones to put on top. We call it cooking. We cook the other ones. So these help to activate the other crystals. And so he would put his on, I would put mine on after we'd buried the crystals into the earth. Now, it sounds like we really knew what we were doing, but we actually didn't have a clue. Like, it's just the most incredible thing. Ancient wisdom that has not been handed down doesn't mean you're not going to find out what it is. You just have to be brave enough to ask for the signs and to start it.
Right.
Like people out there, you think, how would I know what to do? Well, I can teach you. Come to my classes. I've got online things I can do. But that's not the point of it. The point of it is the wisdom's inside of you, just as it's inside of me and Cornelius, So we just knew to do certain things, and we did things together. When he agreed to go on the mission with me, I was pretty blown away. I thought, oh, wow, that's a big leap of trust. And so the first thing we did was we needed to connect. And so we talked a lot about, he didn't know anything about me. I knew very little about him. Well, I actually knew a lot about him because I'd read his books.
You read the book, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we went up to the grandmother fig tree here. So we've got beautiful native fig trees here in Australia. And this is a Moreton Bay fig tree, and it's called the Settlers tree. So people have been gathering around here for a couple of 100 years, making big decisions up here for this district around this tree. And it would have been there long before that. It's huge. So it's a grandmother fig tree. I took this up there and we created, I don't have pictures of this, but a shame I didn't think about this one, but we took all the crystals that I bought for the mission up there, and they were washed and blessed, and there's quite a thing doing that. So we did that together, and we laid them out at the base of the tree, and then we created an essence from the crystals as well, which we used, mixed them with sacred waters that I'd collected from all around the world, and friends of mine had done that and given them to me. So it was very big, like it was huge kind of preparation, and then we bottled those things and collected ancient earth that people had given me as well, just little pieces of it. And we went off on our first mission, and we sang a lot. We sing a lot together, and we've created songs together. And so we sang all the way, asking. The first tree was easy. We knew that tree straight away. That was at Shorncliffe, and it was a fig tree, and it was a Moreton Bay fig. So we had a really lovely first ceremony there, and we thought, wow, this is great. And the fig tree was so, like, there was something about that tree that was so welcoming of us, and you could just kind of get inside of it almost at the base, the roots. And we both felt very comfortable at this particular tree. That became like our go-to tree all the way through the 4 months doing this. We'd always go to there to charge up. And it was facing the water, so the Pacific Ocean, and it was just like 20 meters away. And so we just felt so held by the elements there. Plus, I'd been there so many times, over the years. Anyway, we went up to the next spot, Clear Mountain, on the map. And at this point, we didn't know that we were going to be putting crystals into the earth around the roots of the old fig tree. It's so lovely to have the roots of this tree here on your
I know.
This is where we planted all of our crystals. And we'd also had really clarified by this time what we were doing, the reason we were doing it, which was for the grandchildren primarily. We wanted to hand down the wisdom to them together, but also to help healing, as I said, of Brisbane. But then there was a third component. Our communities needed that help, but there was a third component, which was the war in the Middle East. And so that broke out in the early days of our mission, while we were planning it online. We hadn't got to that stage. On the 7th of October, we were writing to each other, and I'd met him in person, but we hadn't met at the tree, about the mission. So anyway, that brought a whole new energy in, because it was like, we want to bring more peace to the earth. So we started researching, is it really sensible? Like, can we do that? Can it happen? And if you go online, there's quite a lot of, I guess you can't really call them studies, but there's a lot of experiences. And Cornelius had a really huge one called the harmonic convergence in, I think it's 1987, where thousands of people gathered around the earth. And that was the first major, huge, massive group meditation that happened across the planet. No internet in those days, but the word got around. And he was actually in Antarctica at that stage. He was stationed in Antarctica as the doctor for Greenpeace. And he was approached to gather the people on, there are only 5 of them, but in the base, to be that Antarctica point for the big convergence that was happening around the world. So he had to hold that space, and he got right into it, like it was his thing. And the other scientists there weren't terribly interested. But anyway, they kind of didn't understand. They didn't have the history that he had. So anyway, he did actually hold that space, took it very seriously, and he found out it was coming from Maui, the island of Maui, and it was going to be going to a different part of the world, and he knew where he was handing the energy on to. And so he took all that on board and kept touch with that. That I'm telling you this for a reason, because later on, what happens is the history shows and the studies show that when it's usually between 7,000 and 8,000, they've noticed, when large masses of people gather, they can actually change world events. Like, there's some real evidence that wars have been brought to, whether it's a temporary closure or fully, finish, in relation to these massive kind of meditations that are happening in huge groups. If you look at it, there are some correlations. I'm not actually telling you facts here. You have to kind of have an open mind, but I believe that this has happened. So we had the thought, well, maybe we can make a difference. There's only 2 of us, so do you need numbers to make a difference? And so we started to do more research into that, and I found this study. I already had one study up my sleeve of 10,000 women who were studied over about 30 years that showed that they had longer lives if they went to service at a church every week. So they couldn't meditate on their own and get the same result, because they had all these like women that they studied. And if you just went by yourself, it didn't seem to make as much difference if you went into a large group into service. Then I found another one, recent one. I think it was between 1922 and 2012. I think I just have to check. My notes. 2012. So there were 75,000, more than 75,000 women. Let me have a look. 75,534 women. So this was part of a study put together by Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and a nursing college. So they studied all these women over between those years, 1992 and 2012. And there were 3 levels, 3 things that came out of it. There were 3 different 3 different percentages. So those who went to a religious service, more than once a week, had 33% lower mortality risk.
Got it. Okay.
Amazing. Than the average person. Those who went once a week had 26% lower risk of like cardiac disease, for instance. And those who attended once a week had 13% lower risk than the others. And it was very similar to the study I looked at earlier, in that it was a significant difference. And so Cornelius has other things he can cite too that he's done himself, like through his medical career, that he's noticed. And so we realized that we can make a difference if we call people to do this with us. So we had 22 people come, and that's like a really beautiful number of union.
Yeah, it is.
And it's going, and we're continuing to put it out.
And was it people from different places in Australia, or how is
Some,
it happening?
some from Melbourne, one from Sedona in America, but
yeah, you're from Sedona. You said that.
We're only just beginning. Last weekend we took it to people at a large gathering of men and women, and we told them about the mission. And some of them are on board with us. They want to go around the trees and check all the crystals and put their energy into it. We imagine it's going to grow. We're hoping to do it as quickly as we can because we know that it's needed. And what's happened since we did it, since we went on the mission over the 4 months, is we've attracted more leaders who've come into our lives who are interested in what we're doing, and they're doing things. So Cornelius has been to New Zealand, and he's found these other people doing similar things. One person with a 7-pointed star.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the synchronicity. So we're part of a whole leadership group in the world that actually know how to do this, like to work with star beings, to work with the crystals. We're not the only ones. And an Indigenous woman who I've known for a long time, who we call Auntie B, Babajini, she is from Western Australia. And I came across her a while ago, and she jumped on board with a little crystal mission I was doing in Tasmania, which is part of our country here. And anyway, I met her for the first time face-to-face while we were finalising our mission. And she came and met us both, and we talked. She came 4 times. Our work overlaps. So she's been around Australia charging up the songlines, the Indigenous songlines, for the same purpose as what we're doing, for the generations to come, to activate and reactivate the elementals, which is part of this, and to work with the stones and the trees and the earth and the land. And so she's been doing that all the time, like she's constantly doing it. And she travels around the world as well in different places. And so we decided to do a little mission for 13 days between us on the Tree of Life, which is the original Tree of Life, that is very similar. It was most likely a fig, my research has shown me. And so we did a 13-day mission on the Tree of Life. So that was one thing that came out of our mission. And what I discovered through that was when I drew the last tree, which you've got a photograph of, that it actually had 10 points, the tree. And that particular art piece that I did, my last tree, matches the Tree of Life of the Kabbalah, like in terms of the number of speed.
You're right. I guess we have a picture of those. Do we have a picture of those, of the Kabbalah tree? I remember seeing it. And
Kabbalah and my tree. So if you put them side by side, which may not be possible,
let's see, maybe.
You can see that we're working with a map that's very ancient in the earth, and that really opened up my eyes. Wow, we're working with energies that have been here for thousands of years. We don't have to worry about whether what we're doing is going to make any changes. It's just adding to these significant missions that other people have taken over the years and that are taking. So I guess the point I'm trying to put across here is that when we collectively come together, like today, when we share our wisdom like you're doing, you're getting all these people to share their wisdom across the globe, we know we're not alone. And together, just as these women went to service, we can make a difference. We can make a difference to humanity.
Can you see it there? I guess. I don't know if I'm sharing something here.
So that's the Kabbalah Tree of Life there. And
so that's the one you just mentioned. Let me see if I can find the other one here.
So that's one I found on the internet by the Hermetic Academy, just mentioning there.
The tree that you mentioned is the one that you have the picture with him?
It's the tree. It's the only artwork. It's this one here, that one.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yes, I have it. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was the 13th tree. And that's when the penny dropped. I thought, so Spirit, my guidance was you need to draw the Tree of Life 13 times in all these different ways, which I did do. And so I did that for 13 days, and that was
Beautiful.
the tree. So this is another example of a tree on day 10 that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the last one that I did actually is very similar to the map of the Kabbalah. It's got 10 points, and the penny dropped. Oh my gosh. So the tree of life is the original tree of life that I've been drawing. And I knew that anyway, but it was like that's a map. That's a consciousness that we all need to tap into right now as leaders, and to understand that map and the virtues that go with those 10 spheres of wisdom. And if we can keep energizing and activating those virtues of wisdom, well, we made up our own virtues of wisdom, but they do cross over with the tree of life wisdom. And so that putting these crystals into the earth, they carry that message and that wisdom. So by the time we've got 10 in each of those places, those fig trees, that's going to be connecting with wisdom that's thousands of years old, because we never lose it. It just goes down into the earth. It goes into the mycelium that's beneath the tree roots.
Mm-hmm.
The wisdom that the minerals hold the wisdom, the earth holds the wisdom. So we're waking that up again and helping that it's rising. We discovered very early in the piece that we were to plant the crystals at the base of fig trees. And if you can imagine going around on that earth star trying to find a fig tree, how in the hell would you do that? Most in Australia, we've got eucalyptus trees here.
And everywhere.
And they're like, we do have our native figs, but not inland so much. And people were saying, I'm not going to find one at Lake Manchester. There's no way you'll find. It was a complete eucalyptus forest. Well, we did. As soon as we arrived, we found 2.
Wow.
And had the birds showing us, and letting us know that we're on track. We had signs at one point when we were at our fourth tree. We realized that they were telling each other, like they would giving messages to help find us, because we'd arrive somewhere and our human eye would say, no, there's not a fig tree here. And then I'd get out of that consciousness and tune into the other consciousness. And I'd say to Cornelius, turn left here, turn right there, turn left here. And there was the tree, like we got to
fig tree. So in every one of the points you found fig trees.
Tree.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It was quite a mission to do that for 2 of the places we went to. But other than that, it was easy. Like they found us. We found them. I was giving
right. You just show up and magic happens. I know.
Well, we showed up. Magic happened. I was told for the second tree, look out for an unusual sign, a written sign that would be hanging next to the tree. Well, that was funny. We were right in the middle of a eucalyptus forest on the mountain. And then I stopped looking for the sign and I just closed my eyes and I said, it's over there. And I pointed and Cornelius went there and there it was. And the funny thing was, this is one of the biggest, oldest trees. It had a sign next to it that said no trespassers. And it was going into a village that was created there. And it was like this really blocked energy that was saying, don't come in. And so, and just these weird things happen, like synchronicities. I knew the people that used to own this health resort that was next to the tree. So I rang the doctors and I rang them and rang a doctor who knew them really well. She rang them and they said, oh, that's public land. You're allowed to do whatever you like there. So we climbed this barbed wire fence, and which was pretty hard, I'm telling you, for me, because it had been raining and I had to go under the barbed wire fence. And it's a long story, but I got through. I slid through my bottom, basically. And when I got to the tree, we realized there were 2 huge camels behind the tree. That was watching us. They were about 50 meters away, but they didn't come near us, which was lucky. Anyway, we had some adventures along the way, finding the trees. And I think one of the most beautiful things that happened was there is a photograph there of my partner, Cornelius, with he's actually putting crystals into the earth.
Oh yeah, maybe we can see that one.
And there's a branch next to him, and he was singing while he was doing it, because we sang prayers all the time. And
there you go.
if you see that plant there on his right, our left, left of the screen, you see a plant going over and almost touching him. And as he was singing, that plant was moving at least 8 or 9 inches, or like 15 centimeters to the left and to the right, and nothing else. Oh, they were moving slightly, with the wind, but it was actually swaying, and it was swaying in rhythm with his song.
Yeah,
And
like dancing almost. Like, yeah, I get it.
Stop swaying when he stopped, and then it would start again when he started. And I filmed some of this because he wasn't aware of it, because he was singing to the crystals and planting them. And I was thinking, I've seen it so many times before, but he had not had that experience that he could remember anyway. I mean, he had lots of experiences, but that particular one, and it happened to us quite a few times on our mission. And recently, last weekend, bizarre, like he filmed that when I walked up to this plant who was waving to me, and it was just so pleased to see me, and not a single other plant was moving. There wasn't a leaf moving, and it was just going, hello, Heather, how are you? And we had this conversation, But so this is part of the ancient wisdom that we were covering, that the plants, and there's science to back what I'm saying too, like there are scientists who've really looked into how plants do respond to love and attention and chats, And my mother is a great example. She'd sit out on her in her chair out the front and talk to her plants for hours, and she had the most delicious looking
It is
flowers.
true. Yeah. Just remind me of my grandmother, Rosita. I think I told you about this because she used to talk to the plants. She used to talk to the seeds, and everybody that will travel around the world, she will always ask for seeds. And she will say, people will say, my mom is like, why are you doing that? Because this seed from, I don't know, from a grape in Colombia is not going to grow. And I don't know, she will talk to the seeds, she will sing, and everything, she will grow it. She will manage to grow whatever seed, whatever plant. She was always talking to them. So yeah, they knew about this connection. I don't know, for some reason. And there is the connection, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, people talk about how if you carry the seed with you like your grandmother, or you can actually put it in your mouth if it hasn't got any chemicals on it, and it relate to your DNA, and it'll grow whatever you need. I'm not able to back that up with anything I've done, but I have read about it. Yeah, but that's wonderful that your grandmother.
Yeah.
And my mother taught me how to relate to the plants too.
To the plants as well.
They certainly respond. It's incredible how much they respond. Yeah, so anyway, that's the mission that I've been on. I'm still on it to some degree. There's workshops coming up to help with the next activation at the mountain, which I'm really excited. It's going to be fabulous, beautiful. I love the mountain, Mount Tibrogargan, Father Tibrogargan, I call the mountain. So that's happening next month, and then we have a presentation next week at a local Theosophical Society. We've written a book together, and we've finished the book. We're editing.
Oh, really? During this time?
Well, we had a bit of time because while we're doing the second stage, when we went the direction, we got to the tree at Ipswich, which had the metal iron in it, and it's also positioned according to the map that I use for my sacred work, the place where wounding goes to. Like when you have a wounding, it's the world below on the map, and that's where if you're carrying trauma or if you have something happen to you, the energy goes down in that position, right? And that's the holding wounding and holding the darker energy. I actually had a fall. We had a huge storm come out of nowhere, a cyclone actually, that tipped up airplanes and all sorts of things. We knew it was coming, but it came early, right when we just finished the mission there. And I had an accident and broke my leg actually. And so I had.
Wow. When was that? Last year?
That was in the middle of the 4 months mission.
Yeah, got it.
15th of December.
Oh my God, Heather.
I had 4 discs in my back. And
how are you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Okay, good.
Got my crystals, thank God.
Yes.
They've all been healing me. I've got a whole heap of special crystals that I use. And I have a great metaphysical physiotherapist, like he knows the mission I'm on and understands it. No, it's been quite a journey, but it didn't pull us up. Like we felt we were trying. There was some kind of something trying to pull us up, but we just kept going.
Keep on going. Now
Yeah.
you're healed and ready to keep on going.
Yeah. For that 3 weeks, I needed to take off. Cornelius stayed with me, and then we wrote a book. Yeah, together every day. We started the book earlier than that actually, but we were able to get through a large piece of it during those 3 weeks. And then because of my not being able to work quite as hard as I would normally work.
Well, things also happen for a reason, right? But there you had the time to write that book.
Time to write. So we're going to put that out soon, and it's on the mission and also just what I've been talking.
It's about the journey and the mission and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, and about synchronicities and collective heart magic that happens when
beautiful.
you work with other people, and the trees and the crystals, you know. So it's been very exciting. I've had an exciting time this last 5 months since this all started, and yeah, I'm doing well with my healing. Thank goodness.
That's I'm so good.
Fortunate to have sort of tools I can turn to. It's still been, you know, a challenge, and I've had to change everything that I was doing. And sort of, I don't work as much, and I'm still really active in my own way. Just I'm a fairly active kind of person.
You are amazing, amazing active grandmother. And I love it.
And I've discovered, you know, like the real healing power of like the celestial crystal, the magic that's in crystal.
That?
It's an celestial. Some people call it like crocodile or alligator crystals, I think, but it's it's a smoky quartz celestial. So it's, if you look at it, turn it up this way, you've got a warrior in there. See that?
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Warrior that got me through. It's the warrior that got me through. And so they really have helped me. Crystals have that capacity, and you just need to know how to connect with them and how to look after them, care for them, and to activate them to their full power and capacity. And I've done a lot of that while I've been unwell. I'm not unwell while I've been injured. I haven't, been well. I've just been injured.
Yeah.
And so I've learned even more about them since then. Yeah.
How is a good way to, just a question and curiosity, and maybe those that have not done it, to activate a crystal? Like if I have a crystal, what do you recommend activating?
Well, I've got 6 ways. And then I've teamed up with an energy medicine woman who we run energy medicine deepening courses together. We've got one coming up next week. She's added about another 6 ways.
Wow.
That I didn't ever think of. There are as many ways as you can possibly imagine. The common ways that people know about is washing them, and in fresh water or clean water. And it doesn't have to be. It just has to be like, it can still be water that you'd shower in. If you put yourself in the shower, then it's safe enough to put a crystal into. That will help. That always helps to wash off the energy. But the most important thing that I think that people don't ever think to do is you put the crystal to your heart. And I've done experiments like with all these. If you put that crystal to your heart and you introduce yourself to the crystal and you ask it you welcome it into your healing family, and then you give it a kiss. We did that to all the crystals that went in the earth. Kiss it. And like you seriously, you've got to just love, and that will help charge it even more. So you've got it charged from the water, you've got it charged from the love, and then if you want to put it under a full moon or a new moon or any moon,
yes, I have heard that,
on the earth. Yeah, so they're the traditional ways, but we've kind of found other ways, like some really interesting other ways, which there's so many, but those 3 are the most well known. I don't know about loving your crystal and putting it to your heart. It's probably something people don't think to do, but most people know that if you even if you bury a crystal for a while, it can clean itself very well. But if you're working with crystals all day long, you want to be able to do things quite quickly. And so we've created essences that we spray on the crystal. And I'm experimenting with those, but oh my goodness, they make such a difference when you measure the energy of the crystal. I'm experimenting with the essences on people, so on clients and students. One of my students said she just purchased 3 more bottles of this essence because she's never experienced anything like how it pulls her out of, illness and stuff. So yeah, you kind of have to, it's quite a journey understanding how to really charge them. And it's not as simple for when you really have it. Like this one was quite unwell. I had to try 6. This is Indigo Gabra, and it's known as a magician's kind of crystal. It's really popular now, becoming very popular and hard to find really sometimes. But it just wouldn't activate, until I looked into its wounding, and then I spent some time with that, and then it activated. Yeah, so you can tell from using a pendulum whether it's activated.
Yes, got it. Okay.
But you can also just tell from how it feels if you're working, like people every day who work with crystals know when their crystals actually having an effect. Or even if you put it on yourself, you can feel the difference. It's actually helping you clear your nose or take the pain out of your arm or take the swelling out of your leg. And if it's not doing that, then it's not activated. So if that's the case, just use those tips I've given you, and they will make a difference. And if it's still not activating, if it still doesn't do the work, then I can probably help you with that. If you get in touch with me. But some of them have been poorly treated and they need to be helped to reactivate. There's a really amazing teacher of this wisdom called Robert Gilbert. I did a tiny bit of study with him just for a day when he came to Sydney, but a really close friend of mine and a vision keeper has studied with him for 3 years, and she's amazing. Cassandra Scardino is her name. Yeah, but he writes a lot. He's very generous. Like, he gives you a lot of tips and talks about it. And he's also worked with Egyptian technicians, crystal technicians from Egypt who carry the real ancient wisdom. I'd love to more study with him, but I've got so much going on, and I'm teaching so much already. And he's such a great. He was actually a geologist and worked for the Marine Corps bioweapons. So he kind of came out of a really aggressive kind of masculine warrior place, and then he's turning around teaching crystal wisdom.
Wow, that's amazing how he turned into that. Yeah,
sacred geometry, because I guess he came across it in his scientific experiments.
I'm sure, of course. Yeah.
And so he sort of realized that they have a lot more power, and they explain a lot of things about Egypt and the pyramids. And anyway, if anyone's looking to study, I would
for sure. We can share your website here, the Shamanic Wisdom Path and Practice.
I do teach it as well, but people around the world. This goes to people in America. Like, he's actually, I'm not sure where he's based, Florida, I think, somewhere. But you can actually go and do his courses. And Gaia TV has his work on there. I guess I'm good at telling you about other people's work.
But we have to tell about your work so people can also follow you and understand that they can study with you. They can follow your mission. Now what about the book? When do you think is that coming?
Well, the next few weeks. We probably have to go away to finish it because we're both distracted by our work. But it's on its 7th edit. We're pretty close. Yeah. And you can contact me. I'm building online programs. I will be doing a lot of crystal online programs eventually. All my work comes back to some crystal work and drum work, sacred.
The drumming as well. There you go. Sacred.
Yes.
I remember about that one.
Yeah, but if people subscribe, I can keep them in touch with things and let them know. Yeah. Anyway, I think I've covered that all pretty well. What we agreed to talk about.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's like I love everything that is been happening in your life, and the whole mission is just like, wow, it's quite an adventure. I would love to read that book to understand more of all those synchronicities and the magic that is being happening. around with the crystals and the healing. And wow, you especially, like everything that happened to you, and now look at you, you're healed and you're happy and, ready to launch a book. Isn't that amazing? I
Yeah.
love it.
And you find out a little bit more about the other side of the story, the love side.
I love it. So, okay. So I can ask now that you're saying, because I was like, I wonder, like, okay, what's happening? Because how
You'll
come this
find
is my partner now? So that's the love side. I love it.
you find out that it's really funny because I started the first chapter saying this could turn out to be a love story. I wonder if it will. I'm giving it away now, doing a spoiler for the book.
No, and I remember when you started the story, you said, well, you said something like I liked him or something, it's like, okay, I know where this is going.
Yeah, well, we put that to the side for a long time. Yeah, but anyway,
Wow.
it was just the most incredible journey where you really get to know, each other so intimately in so many ways because we were both committed. We didn't take a weekend off to do anything else for.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
it took a whole weekend to do 1 point sometimes or 2 points because we had to prepare and we had to find the tree and to do our ceremony. It was quite exhausting, the whole thing. Yeah, but it was really a wonderful. It is still because we're still doing it. We still have certain things to do. We want to connect this. We have connected it in with the songlines all across Australia.
Mm-hmm.
With Michelle Slater is her Auntie B is her name. Yeah, so she's connected it, and the local Indigenous women here have connected it with their songlines. I've connected it with Sirius in the stars, and we're connecting up with Richie Roberts, who's put grid lines in across Australia soon. I talk to him quite a lot. He's one of my mentors. In the early days, I observed how he did his grids, and so he sent me maps of his right across Australia. And I imagine, oh yeah, one of my students, this is the latest thing. She rang me recently and said she's born in Israel, and she said she's going to Israel next month with her work, and could she please put in the same crystals and create an Earth star over there? Not an Earth star, but a
Uh-huh.
generator over there to connect.
Got it.
Yeah. So I bought all the crystals for her and I sent them to her, blessed them all. Cornelius and I blessed them and kissed them and activated them, sent them to her. So she has one lot to plant in Sydney, which she needs her own base. I've got a base in Sydney, but I said to her, you need to have your own close by. And she's actually chosen a divine fig tree that I know because I taught her. She went through an initiation under that tree, and that was a tree that it's very special to us because that's where she found that tree. So I visioned that tree. I visioned that place before she found it. So part of my training, I teach people individually, and one of the exercises for the day or the initiation, she had to pass this sort of like initiation where I would find something on a map and she'd have to find that same place in Sydney. And she and her friend who was doing the course, I let two of the women do it with me because they were good friends. And they found that exact place that I marked on the map. And that tree was there. Like of all the places in Sydney, they could have gone 1,000 different ways. And they found what I'd written. I put it in an envelope and put it in their glove box. And I said, you'll see if it's the right place or not. And it was. And
Wow.
this is the level that my students are at. They're so intuitive. And so she went to that tree, and that's where she's putting the generator in there, the first generator. And then she knows her aunt has a fig tree over in Israel, and so she'll go to a safe place over there. She has to be careful with the war, but she's mapped all that out. So she's taking the crystals over there, and so we're trying to bring that the love, light, wisdom, and peace, infinite love, infinite light, infinite wisdom, and infinite peace, which are 4 really major virtues for us all to consider. We chose the word light instead of power. It's usually power, love, power, wisdom, and peace that humanity needs to reactivate within as a whole. So we're hoping that we've noticed each time that we've done a major activation that there has been some kind of global response, a little bit here and a little bit there. Cornelius has found the energy at his clinic is so much more harmonized. He no longer has to bring homework home, which is great.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And so the Brisbane, things have changed. Like we can tell, we've had people contact us doing the same thing. Like there's all sorts of lovely signs that we're on track with this. So we have been doing what we had to do when we found out, what was going on, as you
There
say.
you go. Once you knew, what did you do once you knew you're following your call, you're following the path, you're following your mission. And it's just like even it brought your love into your life. So who wouldn't know? And now look at this. This is amazing.
Unbelievable, my stage of life to have found this
I know.
incredible energy and relationship.
Oh, beautiful. This is like wow, quite a story, and even with a beautiful ending with love and everything.
I know, and it's the outcomes immeasurable. Like the outcome, me having this accident, the wisdom I've gained from that, and I didn't even realize. I mean, we all know that people with disabilities need attention and care. I didn't really get it until I was walking around with a stick in a crutch and noticing some people would help and others just. I was lifting a chair at my grandson's. I went to watch them play cricket and walked past 6 young, strong men in their 40s. Not one of them stopped to carry my chair. Like they're asleep. Why would you do that? Well, a woman on crutches carrying a chair.
Right.
Why
Why
wouldn't you?
not?
And so it became even more urgent. Then I thought, wow, they're so in there, like
So
conscious.
much we need to awake. Yeah.
And just being at the post office, they don't have a stool for people who. I'm standing on one leg for half an hour in a queue, trying to get my parcel sent. No stool for me to sit on. Seriously? Is this because of COVID? Did they have stools before COVID? They've got one at the computer shop that I go to. Like that sort of thing started to happen. And I thought, I've got to do something about this now. I know. I actually have to start going into shops and saying, where is your stool? For that person who cannot stand on their leg for more than 5 minutes. Where is your...
Yes, where is it? Yeah.
I don't... I've written letters with certain things to council before, and I'm going to start... I didn't even know I was going to do that till I talked to you, but it's just something I had in the back of my mind, and you've reminded
Where
me.
is that stool? There you go. That's something you can start. We're like everybody should have one. Yeah, for somebody else needs it.
And you can wipe it over in 5 seconds with some Windex
That's it. There you go.
COVID resistant.
And help somebody. Yeah, there you go.
So the post office, the first place I go to, where is your stool? Now I've got the strength in my body, and I'm no longer.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, but I encourage anybody out there, if you have a business, make sure you've got a stool. It makes such a difference.
Oh my God. I'm going to pay attention to this the next time because it's true. Yeah. It's just like, and sometimes we don't realize and we don't think. We need to be just more aware and conscious of these small little things needs that it will make our lives better. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. We all need a lot more patience and love and kindness, I think.
It is true. It is true.
Stop cursing the person who's slow in front of you. There's a reason.
There is a reason. Of course. Yep.
Yeah. And anyway, that's about it, I think. I think we've probably gone over time. If you have a time limit on me, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're almost like 1 hour and 9 minutes, but we're good. So it was an amazing story. It was worth it.
Thank you.
I love it as always. You're always welcome to this space over and over with your new adventures and the missions and your journey, which is beautiful now with your book coming and your love story. And I'm so happy that you're healed and that you're doing good. So what a blessing to have you here, Heather. Thank you so much.
And thank you to you and your team.
My backstage team, Turi, my husband.
Your beloved.
Yeah, I love it. I love having him there. Yes, of course.
He's there for you Terry. Thanks so much for everything and for inviting me on here. And thank you to the people who tuned in, because it's a long thing to listen to. And I really do appreciate everybody.
Yeah, and it will be it will go to YouTube. So those that couldn't just listen today, can watch it later on YouTube and Facebook as well. So it will be there.
Thank you to all the grandmothers who've come on,
I
and
know.
the they're not all grandmothers probably, but the ones who care about the children. You know, they're all our grandchildren, whether you have children or not. So thank you to the grandchildren. You had grandchildren on last year. I love listening to them. They were beautiful.
Oh, I know. I remember that. Yes, 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 yes. My nephews were there. So yeah, to represent. I invited them this year, but they couldn't show up. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'm doing this for them, inspiring my grandmas, but for them for sure.
and
Yeah.
Monica, you do such a great job. So thank you for bringing this awareness to us all each year and paying tribute to
Thank
the
you.
grandmothers. It's really lovely, and the grandchildren. Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much for showing up.
collectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you. Have a wonderful day for you. And yeah, good night for everybody here in the US on this side of the world.
All the best. Take care. Thank you.
You too. Take care. Much love. Thank you, everybody.